In the beginning. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning, there was no space or dimension or form. It was thought of to be a void. You will represent that void with water. In the midst of that void, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. He then made the lands to divide the waters. And we are that land. We are all of the elements of the earth. The multiplicity of these things made in one organism and one living being with shared experiences that we call the human experience. And it is here that we begin to build. Welcome. Welcome in another step in the journey of the build of us being better people, surrounding ourselves with positive energy to create the elevation, the peace we seek, that we are the change in the world that we want to be. I am now going to bring in my brother Eli, for he has words that he'd like to share before we truly begin the journey together.
Blessings, brother. Can you hear me? Yes, sir. Greetings, everyone. I hope and pray the things that we express will not cause any harm to your mind, body, nor your soul, because we are honored to have you guys to listen to the things that we would like to express freely. We also would like to hope and pray that the things we say will not make you guys feel threatened by no means or any form of competition. Just because we are expressing something does not mean we are looking down on your levels of expression. So please allow us to express freely without feeling like we are putting your experiences down, because we're not. We honor and we love you all because you all are beautiful human beings and you all are gifts from God. And we all are grateful for your time because you can never get your time back. So blessings to that. I'm about to do a little reading from the ancient minds, which I truly adore. And it's so important to reiterate things over and over and over again. Just like we look at the sun, the moon, and the stars. So I hope my volume is clear. So I'll hold the mic up just a little bit. This again is page 12. Conquering ignorance is essential. Nobody is born wise, and a person has to make serious efforts to develop the qualities needed to be able to speak and achieve mayat without falling into the twin traps of vanity and greed. Every day, the ears or the living have to be made to listen to words of wisdom. If the teachings is properly understood, then righteousness will become a reality. Just acts conforming to the precepts of Mayat are born out of this understanding. A deed done without egotism is a useful, shining example to others, providing it obeys the golden rule to act for he who acts. The one who knows reality, the myths and the rituals, is how the Egyptian sage portrays himself: a vigilant heart, a plain tongue, capable of satisfying God and the gods, because his entire existence rests on knowledge and not on belief. An adaptive calm and of silence, he distanced himself from the rash, the gossip, and the envious, accomplishing what is right, finding virtue in everything, never evading responsibility. Now, the second half, of course, is from another book, but it's still dealing with the concept of righteousness from our righteous brothers and sisters of old. The human element was and is the most crucial factor in any government. People are capable of great good and great evil. In the ancient Kemetic book of Two Ways, it says that the causes of wrongdoing are ignorance and immaturity. Blessings.
Blessings. Today we're going to talk about integrity, as well as correlating that to the threats of the end of the world. Brother Eli has given passages which perfectly coincide with mine, and we will discuss after I share. The book of Matthew in the Bible, chapter 24, verse 36 reads, "But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only." The book of Luke, chapter 21, verses 25 and 26 read, "There will be signs in the sun and moon and stars, and on the earth distress of nations in perplexity because of the roaring of the sea and the waves, people fainting with fear and with foreboding of what is come unto the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken." The last passage I will give is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10. "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will be burned up and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done on it will be exposed." I chose those passages not just from the title calling those passages to me, but also from a human error. If you stayed on last week's broadcast longer than the hour that we were speaking, you will have seen a behind the scenes look at our sacred space, which we create for this broadcast. The lights were turned on. I, under the curtain, removed my ceremonial garb. I came back to my seat to find one of the viewers calling me online, and I so jubilated with being able to know that he wanted to speak to me and gave him greetings. All to find that the main reason why I was being contacted was because he was to let me know that I was still on the air. I took that moment as a teachable moment. And before ending the broadcast officially, I admitted that this is the sacred space we've created, but also my home. And that once the removal of our ceremonial garbs, we are still in the human experience. However, that does not take away from two facts: that I and Eli have indeed created this sacred space, and that the ingenuine rapport that we share with each other is not done as a facade. This is how we are, always. So then the question of integrity is asked, especially in times of distress. I ask those who are viewing me right now with Brother Eli, how many times in your lifetime, in this existence that you recall, being threatened with the world ending? And what was your response to said thing, to said statement, to said prophecy unfulfilled by men, by mathematical manipulations? And what was your response? If you are viewing now, even if this is not a live broadcast for you, I would love for you to share your story in the comments. I will make it a point to come back and reply to your comments. They are welcome here in this sacred space. I would like to open up the floor back to Brother Eli with that question. How many times in your existence, in your experience, this particular experience, did you witness these threats of the world ending? And how did you, in your integrity, respond?
Blessings, brother. Very good question. I can recall when I was in middle school, or maybe a freshman in high school in the 1980s and 90s. I remember, I don't know who it was, because when you're a child, you're really not into things of such nature. Having said that, I do remember the principal or someone got on the intercom. I also remember the teachers and everybody who were adults at that time stopped everyone, the students. I remember opening up the windows of the school and they had the news on. I remember everybody in the school and on the news broadcast, they had a countdown. And I remember we was counting down. I was looking out the window with my Christian understanding of what the world would look like when it ends. So I was looking for a big brimstone rocks to fall out the sky, and it was just everybody in the whole city. They were quiet. They were, after the countdown, were quiet. Everybody was waiting on the world to end. And as we know, the world at that particular moment did not end. I also have other experiences. I would use Prince. It was a very popular song in the 90s, 80s or 90s, saying 1999, that Prince used to sing. That either a change was going to come, when 2000 arrived, when the year 2000 come. I do remember that. Also, let me see. 2012 was another one when they say a great change will come. I do remember I actually went for a jog. I went for a jog and I recorded that event showing that nothing, is going to happen. From the 2012 perspective, that might be different from the other perspectives, said the earth's supposed to reach a higher frequency. In my mind at the time, I thought, I contemplated, we are in a solar system. We are in a system of other planets. So how would it be possible that the third rock from the sun would change its frequency and the other rocks that rotates around our star does not change their frequency? So there were many layers to these great changes that were predicted. We also had the Mayan calendar and others. From a perspective, let me see, discipline or integrity, I don't think in my mind, nor in my conscience, believe that I need to go drink jugs of alcohol or do something crazy because it's the last hour. In my heart, I believe and I know somewhat your life will continue, your journey will continue. So, whatever, like if I stop, some say Albert Einstein died with a math equation on his lap. And we have to ask the question, you do have some children that are very young and do some very miraculous things. So it might be possible, just because we do not conclude or finalize our education in this particular lifetime, does not mean we're not going to have a new body with some level of consciousness in this new body to continue on this education. Just like a video game. The video game came from our present consciousness. And we all know that when we play a video game for the first time, we have many accidents that may take our life, but we bounce back and then we continue on the journey. So if that was in our subconscious mind, being created into the physical world via Xbox, PlayStation, it might be the same with this video game or this present life. Because one thing I ask people is this. A lot of people will tell you when someone dies, you hear the last breath. If that's the case, and we have this understanding that the trees and the plants provide us oxygen, and we provide them with carbon monoxide, which I don't think is actually the case. Because the question I ask those, if we exhale our last breath, do we go into the limbs of trees? So oxygen might not be a local thing. it may be something on multi-dimensional layers. Because when we come into the world, we inhale, which get this life going. And when we leave, we exhale. So if that's the case, we didn't inhale oxygen from trees because we didn't come from the leaves. So that's a little side note on the levels of integrity in the end of the world. I was never the one saying I need to go eat all my Hershey Kiss chocolate bars and drink some alcohol and go see somebody. I was never that type. I believe that I'm going to maintain who and what I am and what I represent. Blessings.
Blessings. Oh man, so many times I have been gullible to one definitely being the year 2000, the whole Y2K. And I thought that this would be mathematical fact because it would have been a man-made one due to computers and their binary codes failing all at the same time. That when we hit 00010100, that this is a binary code which would indeed open up all security, would free it all, that prisoners would be removed, the security systems in prisons will be removed and would be able to roam completely free, and it would cause utter anarchy. I remember my father, with the mere thought of this ever occurring, purchasing well over $5,000 worth of ammunition, teaching me how to use a handgun at the age of 20, and literally creating a bunker in our basement made up of canned goods and our ammunition. On New Year's Eve, I and my father sat on the steps of our basement that led to our first floor, waiting to hear the anarchy, to see the thieves rummaging and pillaging and stalking through the houses and trying to loot, and being prepared to shoot at sight anyone as a self-defense to protect our home from the end of the world that we as man will create. So much, in fact, that I had stayed up until my eyes had worn so heavy, I had overslept. I had an occupation. I worked in a grocery store as a deli clerk. And I was late for work because I thought the world was ending. I received a call from my supervisor about an hour past the time I was supposed to arrive at work. And he was yelling, "Why are you late? You have never been late for work. You need to get here to work as soon as you can. We are busy. We need you here. If you do not want to get reprimanded and lose your job, you must get here immediately." To which my response was, I thought that the world was ending. I am speaking to you on the phone now while holding a fully loaded 9mm pistol, thinking that Y2K would happen. I am with my father and we were going to defend our home. He bursted in laughter And at the end of his deluge of delight, he heard that I was not laughing, saw the sincerity in the conversation, and said, "Get here safe. We will not reprimand you, for you truly believed that the world was ending." I too fell for 2012 in the Mayan calendar, also human error with mathematics and our calculations. But at least it was not with an armed handgun. It was indeed with food, much hoarding of non perishable items, and plans to relocate to Maryland to be with family members of my wife in a bunker that we had created literally by the basement of her cousin. Of course, that did not happen either. And I believe to this day, being 10 years after, there are still some canned goods that are still in those basements that we had all this time, which I believe we do need to dispose of, actually. But how does that tie into our integrity? Eli's example is definitely that of integrity, because he did not stop living his life. He continued onward. He even documented the evidence of the non-occurrence with a run, no less, with joyous exercise. I believe that we will continue to have patterns, rumors of the ends of the world, and they will be seen in a light that will cause fear amongst those who have yet come to the full understanding of them. But those who are in enough of the understanding to know these patterns, we will not be in fear. And instead, we will continue to live our lives, not necessarily unaffected by the world around us, for it is us inherently, but to show us an example that we should, even in the moments where we are threatened with death, that we should live as if we are dying, that we should take the moment of now that we have and have it in its fullest of its integrity. That we, amidst all of the approaches of fear, which are weapons against our consciousness, that we fight it with love. For those are the two energies that I know of: fear and love. Whenever the question is asked about, is it better to be feared or to be loved, I'm almost amiss at how to answer it, depending upon different levels of my understanding in my life. There was a time when I believed that to be feared would be at least respected in my sight. There are times when I believed to be loved would be at least appreciated. However, the evidence shows itself that extremes of any sort are detrimental to our well-being. And that said, we should see all of these things, fear and love, in levels, and in those levels deal with them accordingly, like the video game simulation that is this existence. Because Some levels are more difficult than others. Some of them require more tools in order to achieve the goal than others. And some of them have Easter eggs, even in their infancy. And if we continue to dig deeper and deeper in and find the details therein, things that we might have missed before, we attain more knowledge. And in that, we share our evidence and thus gain more understanding of the world we know. I do not think the world will ever end. The world as we know it will always change. The world as we know it only needs just a small amount of time without us here to fix itself, to cleanse itself. We have had proof of that with COVID-19 months after the initial announcement, of which most people thought was going to also be the end of our worlds. There were places where there were no sea life that began teeming with it. Places where flowers and trees would not bloom or blossom or grow. Places with heavily polluted areas that were being washed clean because it was given the time to break from us being us as potently as we are with the world. That said, my prayer to all who are in attendance today is that our integrity comes in our rest. Our rest first. And in our rest, we learn through example, through the evidence, through the readings of all before us, how to go about our work more effectively so that our work does not go in vain. To know what our goals are, as well as the agendas of others, and through that, find a higher quality of life and energy that we can share with the world we know. There was a conversation that I shared with people at a table just 24 hours ago about our world being so huge that it makes us that much smaller, of assuming the responsibility of the entire planet without putting any work or effort towards it past watching the news, giving accumulated ratings, and thinking that that is our work to be done. But oh, when we make our world more cozy, when we make our world more confined even, smaller, we have the power to maintain that world. If the world that I know is only this room, I can maintain it in 100% cleanliness. But if I make the world all the square miles that it takes to run my veins twice across it, then I am but the dot and feel meaningless, useless. That my one vote will do nothing in any political debate. That my one removal of trash does not inspire those to clean a country. It is something that I believe we must be very careful of allowing our consciousness to absorb. For it is positive energy that we should continue to emit. Hindsight being 2020, I can heartily laugh at those instances for what they were. But the future, which only by patterns and almanacs can we ever forecast, I can clearly say that I am prepared enough to not be in fear of any world ever ending. Brother Eli, if you'd have anything to share, please.
Thank you, brother. I would like to honor those beautiful birds that are communicating to other beings while we communicate to human beings. Blessings. I'm going to do a little more reading from Dr. Ricketti's book dealing with our ancient ways. We come from a mighty great people. We come from some serious love and excellence. I hope you can hear me. So I'm going to just cut. I'm not going to read verbatim. I'm going to cut some of the information. And I hope and pray you get an understanding of how we lived. And you might want to compare it to how we live today. These are the things which the Kemites desired for all people to achieve. You got Ankh, Ujab, Seneb, were the most often written words in the ancient language of Metuneter. These words were also the most common greetings used by people because they believed in the power of spoken word. We know that the Kemites believe that speaking, writing, and thinking these words will bring these conditions into being. Mayat governance. Mayat was the basis of social order and also the main principle of governance. Mayat is the highest form of political consciousness. Imagine if you will live, imagine if you will a society which emulated and only rewarded the truly righteous man or woman. Only those who do good and bring good into the world. Such a society would automatically discourage people from doing wrong because there would be no profit or benefit in that activity. So I'm going to go to another part of the book dealing with our ancient ancestors. According to the ancient teachings, to do wrong, speak falsely is an abomination, even to oneself, and goes against the grain of any stability or success in life. I'll read it again. According to the ancient teachings, to do wrong, speak falsely is an abomination even to oneself. So another part of this simple, amazing book, human social plane. The purpose of humans is to maintain Mayat on earth. Mayat is doing that which is in accordance with maintaining the harmonious balance in nature. That is, taking care of the earth and all things thereon. Ma'at is doing that which promotes health, growth, and development in all people and all of nature. To do Ma'at is to respect the sacredness of life. To do Ma'at is to treat the whole earth as a sacred place. It benefits us to take care of the earth because it is the source of sustenance for earthly beings. To do Ma'at is to work to bring about a harmony in everything, that is, in your environment. To do Ma'at is caring about all living things. To do Ma'at means to exist in harmony with nature, to work to produce a healthy, natural environment. Blessings.
Does it sound like doing Ma'at is hard work? For some, they'd say, of course it does. For others who have yet to do the work might say it's very easy. I would say that the correct answer are all of them. For those who might not know about Ma'at, I would encourage you to find the book. For we who use this evidence, we want all who are in attendance to be able to hold it palatably and keep us on the same accord of accountability. For this is our integrity. The Book of Ma'at is actually a free publication that is found as a PDF file. After the broadcast, anyone who is willing to journey to find it, I will help them. I will send the link. It is a book that I believed up until my very early 40s thought I read in its entirety. However, the Book of Ma'at is much more than 146 pages long. I say that to say this. Your integrity is a work that is ever evolving. It is not ever meant to be complete. For if your integrity is complete, then there is no more work to be done. And we know this by the evidence. That is further from the truth. There is always work to be done. And for that integrity, that amount of discipline is indeed difficult. It is the same disciplines that keeps the sun shining every morning without fail, that keeps the moon without a day or night off, and keeps all of life around us, in spite of us, continuing to move and do the work, whether or not anyone is watching, with full integrity. That said, may your integrity be something that you continue to do the work on, but in the collective consciousness of this positive energy, that it be magnified more efficiently for the rest of your days. This I pray, and may this be so. Let us share in a moment of silence of appreciation for all that has been gathered today. For all of this is of a value that we cannot pay except for attention. Blessings. Brother Eli, are there any other remarks or statements that you'd like to add before we close?
I am complete in my message for today, and I am grateful for the audience, those that are present, and those who might listen in the future. Blessings for your time, and I hope that the message that was shared is not offensive, nor is not misleading by any means. Again, I am just someone who is just observing. I am that ant that's in the grass of a subdivision. I don't have enough awareness nor wisdom to know even what's a half a mile away from my present place. So I'm just sharing my tidbit of my observation. Thank you for your time and support. Also, Brother Mike, when we read our ending at the end, it was cutting off when we was trying to say at the same time. I forgot to bring that up. So I think you are honorable enough to do that. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. Let us go about the benediction of the build with knowing ourselves as being this candle. For the candle cannot complain against the darkness and the harshness. It instead emits itself, then admits to itself that it is everything that it needed. It is the light. And we are the light. And as we go about taking in the light of this candle, know that we do not blow it away from us, but we bring it into us. Being the light, we will show and prove together that as we take this in, we are not burned. The burning bush burns on. Blessings.